Hey, Divas. It is Coach Twy here with Fit, Fine, and Fabulous. Super uber excited to come live to you today. A little surprise, right? You were not expecting me here on a Tuesday night, but I really wanted to check in with you guys and say hi and say hello on this big old transformation Tuesday. I have a special guest that I want to bring on and I want to share with you. So if you are there, please in the chat say hi, just say hello. Let me know you're there. Let me know you're watching because I do have this special guest that I want to bring on. She's one of our great divas who have lost over 50 pounds after starting with Fit, Fine, and Fabulous. So I am so excited for her to share her story with you. And if you are listening and you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure and you're like feeling stuck, or if you just need to lose some weight, especially if you're a woman over 40, this conversation is for you. So if you were listening to this, let me know that you were listening by leaving a comment, just saying hi, just saying hello, liking the video so that I can know that there are some sisters out there who are listening to this conversation. So hopefully I see a few of you join this discussion tonight with this wonderful, wonderful diva who has lost over 50 pounds. I'm super uber excited to bring her on and chat with you. I think that's Michelle Hart who's saying hi. She's listening. Hi, sis. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that you are listening. If there are any other divas who are there in the group who is listening, because it's just like a pop-up call. I understand if ladies are not like quite on in the group, they had no idea that I was going to go live today. But hey, I thought it's Transformation Tuesday, and let's get in and talk about some serious transformations. Who just said hi? I am listening. If you would not mind, please go ahead and share your name so that I can know with whom I am speaking. If there's anyone else who is here live and direct, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead in the group on my phone right now because I am using a tool called StreamYard. So, it's Glenda. Hey, Glenda. Thank you so much for joining, sis. I appreciate it. We won't be before you long, but I feel like this is a really good dialogue that you guys would appreciate and enjoy and get some inspiration from. So right now I'm typing in the group right under the video. I'm just going to say, hey, join us, divas, Transformation Tuesday Spotlight. Thank you, Glenda, for being here. I appreciate it. And then we have some other sisters. I appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. So the diva that I'm going to bring on, her name is Delanda Sydney, and I am just geeked that she is here and that she has stuck with her program and has had such a great transformation. You have just got to hear from her. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her on and we're just going to have a quick sister chat about her experience in losing 50 pounds. So, okay, we're going to bring her on right now. Hey, Miss D, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I am doing really well. Of course, I'm out here on the West Coast and you're on, I think, where are you? Are you on the East Coast?
I'm on the West Coast for now.
Oh, you're on the West Coast. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Well, welcome back to the West Side because I know that's not where you reside. So,
No, I'm in my hotel room. I'm back in our old stomping grounds in Seattle.
oh, wow. Yeah, Dee and I met in Seattle, Washington. Wow, girl, would you even believe that that's 20 years ago? Maybe even 21 years ago. How do I know that? How can I just spew that off the top of my head? Because my son is turning 20.
Wow. I remember.
Yeah, that's around the time that we met. So I just want to get the ladies to get to know a little bit about you. So if you would not mind just sharing a little bit about what you do for a living and your family makeup and all of that stuff.
Well, I'm 45 years old. I'm originally from Boston. I am by day, I'm a product marketer. So I work for a technology company and I do product marketing. And a little bit about my history. I'm diabetic, type 2 diabetic. And my mother is diabetic. My father was diabetic before he passed away. And then I was talking to my aunts at the funeral, and apparently, all his siblings were diabetic. His mother died of diabetes. I talked to my mom. Her father died of diabetes at an early age, probably about 40 something, around my age. And
Wow.
so diabetes definitely is runs rampant through our family. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
Wow. And you did not know that before the funeral. You didn't realize how, quote unquote, prolific diabetes is in your family line. You didn't.
Exactly. I did. I mean, I knew my mom had it. I know my dad suffered it for it. But when I heard my aunts had it, my uncles had it, their parents died of diabetes, and this is back in the 40s and 50s, and so it was kind of a wake up call to hear that, this is happening, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
generational. And so it kind of continues to be sort of a part of my why, right? Like I have, this is something that's happening. And what is the saying that they say, like, history repeats itself? And
Yeah.
so it's important that you know that history.
Yeah, it's so important that we have a better understanding of the health dynamic, in our own family. And I don't
Mhm.
think, I mean, if your family is like mine, we don't have a whole bunch of conversations about who has what, and I remember even an older member of my family passing away, and it was clear she had something, but nobody would say what it was. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why it's like that, especially in the Black community, because if for nothing else, we need to share our health histories within our families so
Mhm.
that we know what to expect and what we can do to prevent or not exasperate any of the things, any of the markers that exist in our bodies. So it's just
Yeah.
so important. And I think that's so key. Let me ask, where were you in your journey when you learned that? Like, had you already started your journey, or did this like make you go harder, or did this make you start your journey? Where were you in your journey when you learned about your extended family and how diabetes was just cutting up?
Well, I recently learned about that at the funeral. So that was a little back in the fall of this year. And I started, my daughter did a project for school, and where she had to interview an immigrant. And my mom is an immigrant, she's from Trinidad. And part of the interview, as we began to dig deeper about her background and her history and her why did she move here, I asked about my grandparents, her grandparents, and she had told me that they had died of diabetes, and and her father had also died of diabetes. And then I had already started on the journey. Like, my why was a little bit more deeper than that, but it just kind of added fuel to my backpack, so to speak, where I had to feel like, okay, now I really have to accelerate and focus on this, and not just a lot of times when I find people my age or older, they kind of think that this is just a way of life, right? You
Mm,
get older, you get certain disease and prognosis, and you just accept it, and you die.
mm,
Like, it's just kind of like, I mean, a lot of people at that. And I'm of the mindset, of the belief now that, yes, it's something that I have to be cognizant of and conscious of, but this is something that I can control, that I can manage, and that I can change.
yeah,
And the thing that I like about now, especially, there's just so much more information. There's so many people sharing their stories. There's so many doctors or holistic medicines, who are teaching you techniques, and the information and knowledge sharing is so more prolific now. And
yeah,
I think the mindset hopefully is changing, and
yeah.
that's where
It
I'm
needs
at
it needs to. It needs to. And it's so awesome that you get to now say, right? Like, diabetes ran in my family until it ran into me.
today.
Right? Like, you
Yes.
really get to say that because your daughter, and the rest of your line, as it comes from you, it will not be an issue because you've handled this in your life. And I say all the time that losing weight, getting off pills, lowering your blood pressure is good for you, yes, but it's not just about you. It's about the people who are in your sphere. It's about the people who are in your community. It's about the people that you can influence. It's about the people that you've never even met yet that's coming down the line. So now when folks think about, as they get older and your family in particular, they can say great, 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 and great, 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 but right here is where it stopped,
Yeah.
and that's what we should all want for ourselves and for our families, is for our entire family to be healthier and not just, have a selfish journey, if you will, and have it to be just focused on you. A lot of times, well, I shouldn't even say a lot of times, that's honestly the premise of Fit, Fine, and Fabulous, right? It is sisterhood, it is community. So if I know a thing, you're going to know a thing. If I'm inspired by a thing, you're going to be inspired, because we're going to share it, and we're going to ask that you share it. And that's why I am so grateful that you are here tonight doing your part and you are sharing it. So grateful. So let the ladies know up top. Let's get the conversation going with, girl, how many pounds have you actually lost? Because wait, before you even answer, I have to let the people know that I'm looking at you, and I'm going to be honest. Like when she came on camera, like we haven't seen each other, right? Like live in a while. It's been quite a minute. I've seen pictures of you here and there. But I was like, whoa, you look so good. Like your face is much slimmer, and you were kind of moving, and I could see your body is much slimmer. So clearly, you've really been out here doing your thing. So let the ladies know, how many pounds, sis, are you all the way down at this point?
At this moment in time, I'm 55 pounds lighter.
We have released 55 pounds. That is so very awesome. That's probably awesome for your joints, or specifically your knees, right? And all the other things, because losing weight helps your entire body. And what about your A1C? In losing that weight, did that help your diabetes in any way? How did it impact your A1C?
Definitely. So when I started, I was in double digits. I'm like almost ashamed to say. I think I was like, it depended on the, when I took the test, but I was definitely north of 12, like way too high,
Yeah.
scary high. And so now I'm definitely in the single digits. I'm still diabetic technically, but I'm not, I'm what they call managed or controlled at this point in time. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. So that has to feel good. So let me ask you this, because I was so honored, right? Because you and I used to work at a big technology company together back in my project management days, right? And so what made you choose Fit, Fine, and Fabulous? Because you specifically know me for project management, not necessarily for health coaching, right? Like, so what made you choose Fit, Fine, and Fabulous to kick off your 55-pound down journey and your reversal of your A1C, sis? What made you choose us?
Well, I mean, we've been friends for a long time, and I've been we've on Facebook, and you shared, I remember when you were just sharing like tips and tricks, and then, you started growing and become, starting your membership, and it was right at that time, it just kind of intersected where I was at a point during the pandemic where I was just like, I can't do this by myself. Like, I need help. And so it's not, I just knew intuitively what I was doing wasn't working. The American Diabetes Association diet wasn't for me. It's just not, or the standard American diet wasn't working. As you know, I was doing Uber Eats like every night.
Dang, you get that Uber Eats. When we first started talking, y'all, listen, she brought it up, not me. I wouldn't even go say nothing. So, working one-on-one with her, we were building a meal plan. And I'd say, well, tell me how you eat now. Like, tell me, where do you get your food? What do you do? And it was literally, girl, in my refrigerator is full of boxes from Uber Eats. Like, every night, like Uber eating. And that's, you know what? That's typical though, right? Especially of a busy executive, a busy mom, a busy, all the hats you were wearing. It makes sense why you were doing something fast and something quick, because it wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
This wasn't a priority at that time. So I want to ask what flipped the switch to make it a priority, but I feel like you answered that already, but maybe not. So I'm asking anyway. Because I know like that added fuel to the fire your family did, right? But
Yeah.
what was like the tipping point where you're just like, no, this is going too far. I need to get this under control.
Well, I mean, the way I like to be self-centered, like I just wasn't happy with the way I looked, like my face was full on round. Um, my belly was big, my clothes didn't fit. Like, of course, so there was like the aesthetic reasons, but to be honest with you, like I just thought I was waking up every morning thinking I was gonna die. And I was just like, it's inevitable, right? My dad was already in the hospital from a stroke from, high unmanaged diabetes.
Wow.
And I was just thinking in myself, like, it's just a matter of time. And I need an intervention. Like I need to do something differently. What I'm doing isn't working. I had already started being very consistent about my working out, meaning I was working out
I remember. You was killing it.
vigorously, but
Yeah,
it
you was
wasn't
killing
really moving. It was incrementally slow, but it wasn't like the scale wasn't really like going in the direction that it needed to go.
it. Yeah.
And so honestly, like I said, I had followed you throughout the years. I knew what you were doing and I needed an intervention. Like I wanted you to intercept me before I went down the wrong path. And so I kind of felt like Fit, Fine, and Fabulous was a perfect fit for me because I needed the tools and I needed a strategy and I needed to get on a better path.
Oh, that's super cool. Not just cool, but I'm very honored, right? That when you think of saving your life, you think of me, right? Like that's the first and foremost. Like that's just insane. I'm honored and I'm blessed to have had the opportunity to help you. But then when we add on top of it the fact that I actually helped you to get all the way to 55 pounds down, and then also making sure that you got your diabetes under control, which is actually the more primary thing, right? The two go hand in hand. But it's really cool. So thank you first and foremost to for using and choosing Fit, Fine, and Fabulous for your fitness needs. Now, when we come to thinking about how, because one of the things you said that caught my attention was, y'all get this, she was saying that I have been working out and the scale was barely moving. So tell us a little bit about how you were working out, but then what you were eating while you were working out. Because I do recall when we had our first conversation, you were like, but I'm working out so hard. Like you gave me like this real rigid, and I love the Peloton, right? You gave me this real rigid Peloton schedule that I wake up at this time and I do this and I do that. But it is like, but what are you eating? Right? What are you eating? And it was at first, can I be honest?
Yeah, go ahead and tell the
Okay,
people.
okay. At first, and it's true, it was hard to get through to you that your workouts won't work if your food isn't clean, right? Like you were like, no, but I'm I'm like, friend, you gotta eat right. In fact, I advise you just stop working out. Just please, just focus on food. So we have full on conversations about what kinds of food that you like, right?
Yeah.
Remember? And
Yeah,
then,
I do.
yeah, like what kinds of, so what do you like? And then exploring healthier options for the foods that you like. So for anyone out there listening, I really hope that this is a big nugget for somebody out there who's thinking I need to lose weight, who's thinking I need to reduce my A1C, who's thinking I need to get healthier. And your first thought is, let me go to the gym.
Yeah.
Your first thought is, let me get on a treadmill or let me get on my Peloton. That should never be your first thought. Now, of course, it's important, but it should never be your first choice. That's not where you start, right?
Well, I mean, I had been on weight loss journeys, forever. Like, this isn't I woke up yesterday and decided to do this. I've been doing this in the past since my 20s. Like I've been struggling for a long time. And in my 20s, that worked. So,
Did
and
it not?
and in my 30s, I hired a trainer and that it worked. It was working. But somehow in my
And 40.
40s, it just it wasn't as effective.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it took us a couple of weeks for you to be like, you know what, if you had to choose between meal planning and working out, you told me to go choose the meal planning. And it took me a while
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
there because I was just like, no, in the past.
No, you were like, you were very rigid with it. Like, no, 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 no. I know because we're happy, and it's especially as women of science, women from technology, we use history to predict the future outcomes, don't we know? We
Yes,
know what the
exactly.
data said. The data said that this is supposed to happen. But what the data neglects is we've changed. Our bodies have changed. Our hormones have changed. We're older now, especially as women of a particular age, women over 40 at this point, right? We have something called muscle sarcopenia that's happening. You're like, what the heck is that?
I
Well,
know
it's
what that
the
is.
body's natural ability, right? Not even ability, right? It's a disability. The body's natural disability to lose muscle as you age. So as you are losing muscle, uh, you are not burning as many calories as at rest as you normally would. So it becomes an uphill battle to add those calories, those burned calories back, right? Burning even more calories. And then on top of that, even more to actually get into the deficit that you need. But because it's hard, right? We got our bodies fighting against us, not just sarcopenia, but then also our estrogen is dropping, right? Our estrogen is dropping. So because our estrogen is dropping, we have these other deposits around our belly. So you're like, what in the world? It's getting even bigger. Yeah, our bodies are literally designed to do that, right? Like as we get older, we lose muscle, we lose estrogen, we gain a little bit more testosterone. It's easier to get stressed out and the cortisol happens. So understanding how your body works is way more important in your 40s than it is in your 30s and your 20s, because really all you had to do is go walk a little longer or get on that treadmill a little longer and you could add and help your body to burn the fat. But in our 40s, Black women specifically over 40, we have got to be able to put forth effort to learn how to eat more clean and to prep our meals. It's just a necessity. It's just no way you can get around it. And so maybe you can hire a chef or maybe you can hire a meal planning company to make it easier for you. But the bottom line is you've got to eat healthier. And I already know that you've done that because look at you.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I've
so
made a
tell
lot
us.
of transformation. And the only thing that I would add to that is not only knowing, understanding how the body works, but really getting down to the root of your particular dysfunction. Like what's going on. Like diabetes was one thing on the surface that I tackled. But once I started getting more into learning about my body, then I started understanding my genetics and my methylation pathways on how I actually take in nutrients and how my
Mm,
body processes them or doesn't process them because of genetic defects in my body. Then I started understanding detoxification and how to clean my body. And then I started understanding what my toxin loads were and that I was actually had mold toxins, glyphosate, or pesticide poisoning. I had BPH poisoning, like all kinds
all
of
that stuff
things
going
that
on.
that you need to understand and that they just don't teach you. They do not
No,
educate you
no.
about. And so I think it's really important that, as we honestly, like, this is things that we should have learned in biology
Long time
a
ago.
long time ago, about education, about nutrition, and just about the dynamics of our environment and how our environment is actually not healthy,
No.
and how what we can do to actually counter affect the toxic environment that we live in. It's deep.
And it can get all the way deep, all
Yeah.
the way deep. You're exactly right. Like understanding all the toxins that come through into our system through our skin because we're applying it and we have no idea that we're applying and adding to our toxic load, right? So those things are a little bit more advanced, right? That so I love when someone comes in and it's like, oh my goodness, I have weight to lose. And we need to start from the beginning, right? The
Yeah.
beginning, which is eating healthy and getting your food in order. But what I absolutely love is that you didn't just stop there. You literally, and I say this all the time, ladies, we need to treat ourselves as the best project that we'll ever work on. And you hear that quote all the time, but you quite literally did that, right? So you took yourself on as your own project, which I'm so happy and excited about that you took yourself on and then you began to dissect yourself like you were some software baby. You were like, over here got a bug in it. I need to figure, technologists just takes over. How they're like, no, there's a bug over here. I need to figure it out. There's some kind of something. This is inefficient over here. It's not producing as quickly as it should. That weight's not coming off. What else is going on?
Something else is going on. And
Yeah.
so like the dialing in the nutrition was definitely a catalyst. But I noticed that, once I got to a certain A1C, I couldn't get it past 7. And my goal was to get it to 6. And so seeking out more help to actually diagnose like what's going on. Well, I might have some cellular dysfunction going on that I need to fix. And so I really feel like I am my primary care physician. I am the person that is in charge of me, and I have to seek out resources and I'm just a different, like I kind of like to go a little deep, but I felt like that was necessary because my primary care physician in the traditional sense wasn't helping me, right? You go and I'd be like, well, why do I have diabetes? Well, all she could say is, it's genetic. Well, what is the genetic marker? They can't tell you what that genetic marker is. The entire human genome is already mapped and they can't really tell you. So you have to really seek out tools and resources to help. And yeah, and I'm gonna tell a little side story, but they do blood panels and I would ask for a blood test as I learned about different blood markers and blood tests that could run. And so I'd run it to the doctor and the doctor would look at it and they would be fine because they would be in the normal ranges. But those normal ranges they're looking at like everybody who's taken the blood test. Most of the population is not optimal. Right. So the ranges already they're suboptimal.
Yeah.
And I would put stuff into ChatGPT. So for those of y'all who are savvy, I would put my test results. What does this mean if this marker is low, this marker is high, this low? And ChatGPT told me that I was anemic.
Oh my God. You did not learn that from ChatGPT.
I sure did. And I went back to the doctor and I said, anemia runs in my family too. My sister has it. My sister had a full-blown on hysterectomy because of fibroids and the anemia and the heart damage it was causing. My mother had a hysterectomy right after I was born and I didn't even know. And I was going down that path too because I had symptoms of anemia but didn't know. And so anyway, I digress to tell you that, again, you have to be your primary care physician.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't even think it's a digression. I think it's the nail on the head because we need to be empowered, right? That's what you've done. You've empowered yourself with information and we need to go in there with the goal of shocking the doctor. The doctor is not the one who should be leading the charge in our basic primary care. It really should be us. And I know that sounds weird, but who better to advocate for you than you, right? The doctor is honestly there to give you metformin, to help you to lower your A1C. They're not going to tell, they don't have, first off, they don't have the time or the bandwidth to do all that deep analysis, unfortunately. That's how it's made up. That's how the whole situation is for the medical care in America. So you have to advocate for yourself. So you being your own.
Did you know this? That doctors in their every doctor, no matter what school you go to, takes the same program. So they all learn the same things in school.
Yeah.
They do not take a class on nutrition.
Oh yeah, I know that. And
Not
that's why
not any doctor in the entire country.
it's so insane, because there are foods that could actually help you to heal most of the things there are herbs and foods and all that can combat. But guess what? They're not trying to teach you that, because then you won't need their pills. And then the pills pad their pockets, right? And then the pills pad the pockets of the pill maker. So there are all the things that are connected. There's a whole economy that supports them giving you the pills. So they're not going to tell you the alternative ways of doing it, unfortunately, which lets us know that underscores, bolds, and underlines that we need to be our own best advocates, because they're not our best advocates. They are there to give us information. They're there to help guide us through, but if you're not asking the details, if you're not asking, say, hey, well, what does this mean? I do that all the time, especially when I have panels run. I go deep too. I'm like, hey, can you tell me what level should it be at? What about for Black women specifically? Like, could you help me with that? Like, what's the average for that? And then understanding even which panels to run is a whole nother education. So it seems like you done went out and got a little doctorate in this.
you
And then
have
went to your doctor and was like, look, because they're the only ones who have the power of the pen to affect change when it comes to prescriptions, when it comes to diving deeper. But we need to come to the table with the information. So if the doctor has, your medical history and you don't, shame on you. If the doctor knows your blood pressure better than you, shame on you. If the doctor knows your A1C levels better than you, shame on you. So the whole bottom line is we need to be better advocates for ourselves. And I'm so proud of you. Whoa. So let's take a moment to think about your mindset about not just the aesthetics of your body, but the makeup of it, like how it functions, how it moves, and how it does all of what it does, right? When you think about how you thought about your body or not before this journey started, and think about how you've matured into who you are right now, like share about the differences between the appreciation of your body in both cases.
Oh, for sure. Like, well, right now I'm sitting down in my chair and I'm sitting down with my legs like folded, crisscross applesauce.
Okay.
I'm sitting down, like I feel great. You know what I mean? And like I would think about, like, if I were to think back on the journey, like I definitely had like my knees were just, not as great. I could feel pains. I would be winded walking up the stairs. I would be just physically just more tired, and just not myself. And I can't describe it. I just didn't feel myself. From a mental perspective, like sometimes I would just have brain fog. I'd just be tired or anxious. A lot of just like things that I attributed to maybe like just my mental, maybe this is because of what's going on in my life. But now looking back, it was because, well, my blood sugar wasn't under control. I was anemic. I was overweight. And if I fast forward to now, after doing things like, detoxing and eating right, meal planning, exercising, different types of exercising, now, like I said, I sit with my legs crossed. I have to throw away all my clothes and buy new clothes.
Wow, that's a good feeling.
So my office is on the 9th floor. I walk up the stairs, 9 flights of stairs. Like, whoa. I don't, and when I get to the stairs, like my blood is pumping, but I'm not like knocked out. Right. Whereas before I wouldn't even have considered doing that. Right. But now, I prioritize movement in my day. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I'll stand up at my desk as opposed to sitting down for 8 hours. I will walk a mile at least during my break, right? And, kind of like use that time to listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook, and still move my body. So the way that I think about my body is just so much more different, because I'm actually thinking about what my body's going to be like at 60 and 65 and
Mm,
70. And
yeah.
so I'm building that. I'm looking out for Delanda in the next 20 years. And in order for her to be able to play with her grandchildren and to pick up her grandchildren and to be present with them, I have to be physically able to do that. And that's what I'm focusing on now.
Amen. That is so, so wonderful that you are thinking about future you. And future you is going to look back and thank you. And also, your daughter will, because you are
Mhm.
totally empowering her to know exactly what to do to take care of her body now because of you. Because you were able to figure out and combat for your own health, your daughter will be able to do the same, and she won't, with prayer, she won't be facing the same diagnoses. She
Yeah.
can have that gene exist in her body, but not activated,
Yeah.
right? She could have that gene living and moving around because all the history says she's going to have it. But because you took the time to educate yourself and empower yourself, and then in turn empowering your daughter, she herself won't have those issues. And for that, you just gotta be like, whoa, I am changing my family's health legacy
I
by what
definitely
I'm.
want to talk about that, because I was nervous in the beginning of, like, when you this meal plan, I'm like, oh, she's not going to eat all this.
Did
She's
you
not.
really think that? You thought your daughter wasn't gonna eat the food?
Well, like at the time we were doing snacks. So there were chips laying around the house. There was all kinds of,
Mm.
candies and like all kinds of stuff
So
that,
that's changed now that you don't
oh,
have.
well, I don't buy that stuff. So it doesn't.
So let me ask you: has your daughter lost weight too?
Yeah, I mean, not in the, like, she's 11, so she's
Yeah.
not, but when other people see her, they say that she's slimmed down, she's toned up, she's more muscular,
Wow.
and so, like, and
Yeah.
I can see it too, and I attribute it to, well, I immediately started cutting out the processed foods and
Yeah.
carbohydrates,
Yeah.
and so we eliminate that in the house. I know that she gets it outside of the house, but the vast majority of what she's eating is coming from this home. So,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
So you were gonna say though that you were afraid that she wouldn't eat the same foods. And I do remember now. I do remember those conversations. You was like, listen, I need some dinner that I can fix for my daughter. And that's when we got into those what was it, the oven wings. Remember that? Air
Yeah.
fried wings. Oh
Mhm. That's
baby.
like a staple. Like, we have that at least once a week. So,
So good. So we have to talk about the importance of, because you said something so good earlier. You said have diabetes, and a lot of people, oh, so many levels of things that you said, right? A lot of people have diabetes, but they are not called to make a change yet. Right. So, and I hope that someone who is listening to this, that this inspires them to make a change, because that's the first step, right? Is you can get that diagnosis, but you have to be intentional about making a change. So you did that part. Then the next step, right, was, all right, I need to get myself and my daughter involved in this whole journey, right? And so then thinking through like all of the things that we have to do in order to get all of that together. So whether it's exercising with your daughter, whether it's eating clean, with your daughter, cleaning out the old habits, and then actually having to probably have some conversations with her, right? Am I right or am I wrong? Did you not have to sit down with her and say, hey, we're about to do a new thing? Because sis was used to, Instacart. Sis was used to, the
DoorDash.
DoorDash.
Yeah.
Sis was used to, mommy, we're not getting these chips. So you probably had to sit down and have some conversations with her about how things are going to be different. And I loved how when you may have had that feeling like, oh, okay, I'm nervous about how this is going to happen, but you did it anyway. You
Yeah.
did it anyway. And it's making change is hard. And it's not just hard for you, it's hard for the people again in your sphere of influence, which in your case is your daughter. So what helped you to get past the fear of change. And I knew that part took you a little bit. Like you said, I remember it being probably like the first month. It was a battle. It's like, D, your pictures will not look the same until you start eating different. I will give you a meal plan. I can tell you and try it all the way. And then the next time you try it a little more. And then all of a sudden, D, I don't know what happened. So you got to speak to it. One day it just woke up in you. You were like, all right. I guess it was like, this ain't working the way I'm doing it. Let me just listen. Let me finally listen and see what happened. And then tell me I'm lying. That week that you really went all in, am I mistaken? Like the first, when you really went all in, I want to say the first 3 weeks, like you lost like 11 pounds, or maybe it was more than that.
I don't remember, but I do remember there was a tipping point where like I just kind of had to like accept the help that I wanted.
The help you didn't sign up for. It's like, how you gonna sign up for help and then do it yourself? Like, friend. But that's typical D. Well, that's your personality, and that's okay. But but something clicked where you were like, no, let me. I wondered what that was.
I was, because the weight was coming off, albeit slowly, but it was coming off. And the good thing about it was like we tracked it every week. Like we're tracking inches, we're tracking weight, we're tracking all the things, what you're putting in your mouth. And I think at some point, as in the pictures were really like kind of showing the progress.
Yeah, I would love to do those side-by-side pictures.
Right.
The scale doesn't show you. The pictures always will. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was starting to look at the pictures and I'm like, like I'm changing. And the other thing is like, I was still busy, right? So like my life, nothing had really changed about my life, which was, you know, I have to take her to school in the morning. And as soon as I'm done with school, I'm working intensely for hours. And what I noticed with the meal planning, a couple of things happened. Like instead of me being like just not eating and being famished and then gouging and just ordering something for DoorDash, I would be able to take a break, go to the kitchen, put something in the microwave, and then eat, and then continue about my day. So I noticed like the meal planning was actually helping me be more thoughtful and mindful and be about eating.
Let the people know, friend, because that's go ahead.
The second thing I noticed, it was like my grocery bill is cheaper. I was like, wait a minute, because before I was spending like, to be honest, it's just me and my daughter. So maybe I was spending like $200 a week on food. And then I was spending like $100 a week on food, and I was still eating 3 times a day, every day. Like, and so I was just like, wait a minute. And I was like,
people.
So I was like, I'm saving money. Yeah. I'm actually I'm not as stressed. I'm able to eat and I'm losing weight. It's working. Yeah. So let me do this. And I remember at one point, both of us had to go get our hair done. So we went to the hairdresser together. And you know what that's like when 2 Black women go to the hairdresser. We don't be there. And I'm literally taking my meal plan with me. And so at some point, we're going to take a break and we're going to eat because it's time to eat.
You took your prepped food to the hair salon.
I sure did. So we went into the back room and took a break. And I was like, I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat. So we're just going to, can I use your microwave? Used your microwave. And we sat in the break room and we ate. And it just got to a point where I'm just like, oh, I'm making a lifestyle change. Like I'm serious about this.
Yes.
And so I just noticed like my budget became a little lighter. You know, my work-life balance was a lot easier because now I wasn't stressed out at the end of the day. Cause you know, I don't know about your daughter, but the first question my daughter asked me when she gets in the car is, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? And so it just made life a lot more easier. And
amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Made those pockets lighter. So there's several things that you said, more nuggets flying through. Meal prep saves you time. And I know a lot of people don't believe that, right? Because up front, it doesn't. When you were new to it, remember that first week? And this is probably why it took you a little while too, because you was like, well, what I got to go buy? What I got to get? There were a couple of things, right? In terms of appliances, seasonings, and those kinds of things. Just like, Okay, then you had to take the time to do that, and then learn, okay, so I have these new seasonings, how do I mix them? So there's a little learning curve that
Hmm.
comes with that. And people are just not okay with being not perfect at a thing. People are not okay with being imperfect and not okay with being a beginner. So if it feels hard, if it takes too long, we usually just quit. And that is another barrier between being unhealthy and healthy, is that a lot of times people are like, oh, this just takes too much time. And then they say, oh, it just takes too much money. And it's like, no, it's an investment. It's an upfront investment that you're making now, but down the line, I don't know if we have anybody who's watching that can amen this, right? Because I know Dee can, but down the line, you are going, and we're not even talking months and months or years. We're talking like in 3 weeks. Your
Yeah.
pockets will be lighter. Your time, you'll find yourself. I do exactly what you just described, right? Because busy small business owner, and I'm like, I have all the meetings, but because I made the space, like the space didn't just create itself, I carved out and I took the space for me. And a lot of times we are giving all our space and our time away to other things. We're giving it to sororities, we're giving it to churches, giving it to friends, all that talking, giving it to Netflix, all that watching, giving it to social media, all that typing, right? Instead of us just taking the time and saying, you know what, there are some goals that I have, and one of them is for me to be healthy. So, in order for me to be healthy, the very first thing I need to do is get my mind right about this thing. Like, be intentional. Dee, you were so intentional about every step that you took. But what I really love about your journey is that while you saw who you are, right, you had to have seen who you are right now in your mind, right? You weren't there yet, and it didn't deter you. Now, maybe some days you were like, oh, I hate that I'm here and I hate that this is, whatever it is, but you kept going. And that's the thing. We need to just keep going past the issues, past the problems, past the missed meals, past the missed exercise, past the chocolate bar, past the cake. We need to still just keep the journey going, because you will never get to the end. You will never find success, right? If you stop. If you
Yeah.
stop. So what you have done, my good friend, is you kept going. You saw what would, like a good PM friend. We're gonna adjust some things. This doesn't work. So let me change this part. And then I'm gonna keep going and try that and repeat it the whole cycle again and see what that looks like. Oh, that didn't work. Let me change this part. And then as you move along, right? Next thing you know, you have this whole circle of health that you've created. And as you continue to grow and age and all that, you're just going to keep advancing more and more in your health journey. But so sad for some of us, most of us even. We start our journeys and we keep starting our journeys and we keep starting our journeys. And people never get to where you are, Dee, because they hate to be imperfect. They hate the time it takes. So they are impatient. So, ladies, push past the time commitment. Just aren't you worth it? Aren't you glad, Dee, that you took the time to do this? This was a whole investment, was it not? It was an investment in your time. It was an investment in your money. It was an investment in your research skills. But
Yeah. I
wasn't
mean, but I wouldn't have. I probably, the only thing that I would probably change is that I wish I had casted the vision sooner. I wish I had
uh,
I wish I had clarity on my why sooner. But once I had that,
mm.
I just don't like that 65-year-old grandma. Like that's like she's gonna be here. Like,
You got to
like
say
so
the word, girl. That's what
once
I'm talking about.
once
People need to see. I love that. I love what you're saying. People need to see themselves at not just as who they are today. And that's the thing. We want to satiate the now. We want the benefit for now. And it's the same thing with money. People want, what they want now. Nobody's into investing. Nobody's into saving. I want to do my experiences right now, right? So money and health kind of have that little dual thing going on where we want things right now. But there's such big value in the compound interest, even in your health, right? The compound interest that builds up as you keep going, even when you can't see it getting better, right? Because you now know you can see the grandma at the end holding the baby, playing with the baby, going to the zoo, being happy, and knowing that she could probably maybe even still drop it low because she's lost all the weight, friend. Because listen, if you sit at crisscross applesauce in an office chair, you all the way together with it. And what we need to know about the knees. That was another thing I wanted to mention about the knees, right? Because you said I used to have aches and it's not as much anymore. Well, I have read, it has been studied that for every pound we lose, we release 3 pounds of pressure from our knees. From our knees. So while you lost 55 pounds, right? Like, how many pounds of pressure is that, girl?
165.
Calculate 165 pounds of pressure has been removed from your knee joints. That's why you crisscross applesauce. That's why you were out here being able to, like, wow, I feel lighter. My mental is clearer because you are thinking about food as God intended. God intended food not to just be a taste palate, in our mouths, but also to heal us. It also to keep us going. He intended food to be a fuel for our lives and not us to be a fool for food. He did not intend for that,
My
right?
relationship with food has completely changed in terms of like, well, even one time I remember that when we were working together, I had to travel. And so I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't have all the things. There's the air fryer, the blender, the all of this not here. And I remember you just told me you have to decide that you are going to be healthy on your trip. So you have to figure this out. You have to plan the restaurant you're going to go to, plan what you're going to do every day. And so now the thing that I do differently when I travel is I have Amazon Prime. So I order my groceries and I have them sent to the hotel.
Oh,
when I arrive at the hotel, literally there's like 10 bags and I make sure I have a room with a fridge. So, I have boiled eggs that are already made. I have a salad. And so I can make a salad in the hotel and I'm intentional about that. So, and I, if I take my daughter with me, like, fix yourself some salad.
You got a whole buffet right here in the hotel room.
Exactly. And so I'm super intentional, even about that, even about the snacks. Okay, like I have a keto snack, and I make sure that I bring that. I have protein. I make sure that I bring portable protein, like jerky, or so like just everything. And now I feel like if I'm on the road and I have like something that's not on the plan, I feel a little weird about it. You know what I mean? So I think that's the difference now. It's just like before, like we were kind of accepting the environment that we're in, not realizing that you can control your environment. You control how you respond to it. And so instead of just saying, I'm going to accept whatever I can find to eat, no, I'm going to send my food. This is what I'm going to eat. And this is how I'm going to control what I put into my mouth.
Same with the whole doctor situation. It is a parallel there, right? I am just not going to accept what you're telling me. I am bringing my own information to the table, right? It's the same thing. Hey, I am not just accepting the food you are feeding me at this conference. I have control over this too. Let me get my resources together so I can be the best me, right? You don't control that. So we are not victims of our circumstances. We create the environment. We shift the room. And sometimes we just have to be reminded of that. Right. Yes. Sometimes we just have to be reminded, sis, you the bomb, act like it. This is what you need. But it all starts with making a choice daily, but more specifically, like you said, making the choice when you're on the road, right? Because sometimes when we go out of town, it's okay for us to just be free because it's a vacation and I want to be free. I don't have to be so rigid, all the time. And you can have that flexibility. But know that when you come back in town, you are back to you being in control of the food and not the food being in control of you. So many of us allow just our environments to choose our weight. Our environments are choosing our health status. Our environments are choosing, honestly, our moods, our energy levels, how we feel about ourselves, and all of those things. It is time for all of us to walk in step with Miss D, honey, and take your power back because that's what you did. You took your power back from your doctor. You was like, okay, you clowning. You got me out here with diabetes, like my whole you wrong. Okay, you took your power back with your food. You're like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. And most of us need to get to that point where it's like you're mad at it. You're like, oh no, I'm mad at this. I can't do this anymore. I don't want this anymore. A lot of us have that feeling, but we don't take the next step, which is, okay, I'm about to do something about it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times some people try to unintentionally sabotage you because they tell
Ooh,
you, you're fine just the way you are. I like a little meat on the bones. Some people like you're losing too much weight. And I don't think that they necessarily come from a place of malice, but
yeah.
they want you to stay comfortable and to love where you at right now. But we're not focused on that. We're focusing on who we want to become and what we want to be.
Ooh,
And so it's really important that you not let those people distract you from what's important. And what's important is that I've casted vision for my future, for my health, that I'm diabetes free, that I
hey,
am an active and present grandma with my
hey,
children, and that I will see my grandchildren get married, and that
hey.
I would be able to stand and watch and witness that. And so in order for me to do that, I got to take control of what can I do today to make me the most optimal when I get to that space. And that means I got to take control of my diet. I got to be conscious about my body composition. I got to build some more muscle so that I can have the strength to do that, so I can combat sarcopenia, right? I got to work on my grip so that when if I stumble and fall, I have the strength to brace my fall and not break a
Yes,
hip. Like all these
yes.
things that I have to think more holistically about. And I can't just think, well, yeah, this person likes me the way that I am, but do you really understand who I'm going to be? And that's who I want to be. So I need to do the
Ooh.
things today in order to make sure that I'm on task.
Oh, baby. And that's only two words I gotta say is no three. I casted the vision. I guess that's four.
Yeah.
That's I casted the vision. And that's the point. You can hang up the phone with that. Because that's where we start. Is we
Yeah.
need to cast a strong vision and then be intentional about showing up as that woman of health that we describe, that you describe, the woman that you are. So you're not just becoming her anymore, D. You have arrived and you are maintaining, you are growing, you are nurturing her, you are taking her to the next level. I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you in that capacity to kind of get you jump started in your journey, for one. And then two, thank you on top of thank yous for taking the time to talk with me today. Because so many women have had transformations, but they're afraid to share their story. They're afraid to put it out there. So I just thank you for blessing other people who I know are going to be blessed by hearing your story today, your story of triumph from generational health curses is really what they are. Right? And you are breaking the mold in your family. And God bless you as you continue to do that. And before we close out, I'm wondering if you had any words of wisdom for the ladies who might be listening today, any words of wisdom as it relates to if they are on the fence about, joining Fit, Fine, and Fabulous or becoming a member or participating. What would you share with those ladies as they are listening and as we close out today?
Well, I would say two things. I would imagine that they are, you know, Black women, and they're probably around my age. And you are the center of your family. You know what I mean? Like, you are going to, once you decide that you want to do something, and once you determine what is it, your why, and how you're going to do it, you're going to change your life. You're going to change your children's lives, your husband's, your partner's lives. The people in your nucleus are going to also have a ripple. You're going to have a ripple effect on their lives. And I think in order to shape that person, in order to refine that vision and the path on your execution, and to stay focused, you have to be around others who are doing it. And and that's why I reached out to you, because I knew I needed an intervention. I needed someone around me who was going to help me. And the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and I needed to be around other strong women who had the same vision and same goals. So I encourage you to not only to make this decision to change your family, but also make this decision so that you can be around others who are going to make you stronger and better.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Calling all Black women over 40 who need to lose weight. This is where you need to be, sis. Join our sisterhood. Join us on Fit Fine Fabulous here in our Facebook group, or just visit our website. We are so excited, Dee. Thank you so much
You
for
are so
taking the
welcome.
time
Thank
to drop
you.
nugget after nugget after nugget tonight. Hopefully, the ladies who took the time to listen in were blessed. I know I was. So thank you, thank you, thank you again. Do you have a good night? And those of you who are listening, have a good night as well. Bye, ladies.